Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
I am on my way to the moon, which, lucky for me, is about a 40-minute drive from the office.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Humans haven't set foot on the moon in more than 50 years, but we're going back.
This time when we go to the moon, we're going sustainably.
As part of its Artemis program, NASA have plans to set up bases on the moon and to use that as a launch pad to go to Mars.
Buckle up, everybody. We're going for a ride to the moon.
Private space companies want in on the action as well.
The moon, you guys.
And there are visions of a semi-permanent collaborative community up in space.
Back to the moon and beyond.
We're definitely entering into a very new and exciting era.
There's definitely a new hype, of going back to the moon.
Definitely there is some renewed interest in space.
But before all of that happens, there's a lot of work that has to happen here on Earth. And that's why I've come out to the University of Adelaide. So I've made it to the moon, but it says do not enter. Luckily, mission control is just over there.
So right now we are at the Mission Control Center, or the MCC, and we're part of a simulation of life on the moon. So right now we have 4 astronauts locked up inside a habitat that is actually just next door, but we are pretending that it's on the moon. And then they're doing all kinds of different types of research with rovers, with psychology, with sociology, anthropology, just to prepare for what it would actually be like to be on the moon.
Mark here is one of the co-founders of a company called ICEE Space, who have teamed up with the Andy Thomas Space Centre at the University of Adelaide to be part of a worldwide space simulation.
These are essentially like a way of mimicking as closely as possible an actual space mission.
Jazz is the global coordinator of the world's biggest analogue, a project that combines 16 different Moon and Mars habitats across the world, all working simultaneously.
So I had this idea back in 2021 where I was thinking, okay, so you got, like I mentioned, these analog habitats around the world, and they're all doing their own thing, really good work independently, but they kind of just felt a little disconnected. So I was thinking, well, what if we were to do something big to raise awareness about this, because it's not something that's very well known, and 2, what could we achieve if we connected all these habitats and had like this massive global mission? Are we in fact then also mimicking like potentially a lunar colony, lunar settlement, something like that, which is not that far off?
Hello. These guys are the analogue astronauts here in Adelaide. Louise, Adrian, Ilya and Kato. And for 2 weeks they will live, work, eat and sleep in this tiny space habitat.
We've been growing some plants for the past 8 days.
Doing experiments and troubleshooting any problems that pop up.
That was the tour. You see, it didn't take too long. There is not too big.
You know, I've actually always wanted to be an astronaut, and I didn't realize that when you actually put the helmet on, you might get a little bit claustrophobic. So that was a little bit surprising to me. And then when the fog starts coming in, like I really fog up a lot on EVA. So it's been learning how to like manage both the psychological aspect and then the physical aspect of like, I can't see. What do I do? Do I rub the helmet with my nose? Do I lick it with my tongue, which I've done a couple of times? Like you got to find a way to go to the next thing while being safe.
So there are 3 main goals, I would say, for this one. First of all, it's a demonstration mission. So the facilities that we are at right now are brand new. They have been delivered to the University of Adelaide just a couple of months ago. This is going to be the first full test. And then secondly, we have a lot of the research that we are bringing, but also the University of Adelaide is bringing on. That includes psychological studies, that includes technical studies as well on the hardware. And then the third one is that we are part of the world's biggest analog. Simulating basically what we hope to see within the next 30 to 40 years, where we have people actually living on the moon, but not all in one base, but they might also be in different locations on the moon. Maybe we have some people in orbit around the Earth.
Each day, the astronauts also do extravehicular activities, or EVAs, where they put on spacesuits, leave the habitat, and do different tests and experiments in this pit here, which is simulating the regolith, so the loose particles and rocks and dust, on the moon.
So on the table, you can see some of the rovers. So we were this morning testing them in the regolith, controlling them, looking at the camera feed coming from the rovers, trying to identify craters, trying to find some meteorites, and we made a map of the environment.
The lunar dust as well, the regolith as it's called, it's incredibly fine. It's quite toxic as well. It's electrostatically charged, which means that it's sticking to everything and anything. It will creep up into systems. And even on the lunar surface, it was already noticed during the Apollo missions that after just a couple of these EVAs, or extravehicular activities, spacewalks basically, that they had damage to their suits coming from the regolith, from the micrometeorites, from the radiation that was hitting them. And some of these things we largely understand, but we don't have a very large sample size. We only sent 12 people to the lunar surface.
Analogues have been used for ages to simulate different aspects of space missions here on Earth. This photo is Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong pretending to collect lunar samples just a few months before they actually went to the moon. But this is the first time an analogue has been run simultaneously across the globe.
The beauty of these analog habs is that it's safe to do all of this. No one's really going to actually, there's some element of risk, but the relative risk compared to actually testing this in space is so small comparatively.
We can have all of the same problems we have on Earth, plus a little bit more, because if you open the window, you're dead. If you mess up the rocket engine, you're dead. If you mess up your oxygen supply, you're dead. If you don't prepare your food for at least months in advance, you're dead. It's a bit more extreme than most places on Earth.
When I was chatting with Mark, he had a laundry list of different things. He would say, if this goes wrong, you die. If this goes wrong, you die. If this goes wrong,
you're dead.
So if you guys were on the actual moon, would you still be alive right now?
Most likely not.
We keep track of what we call the simulation death. So for example, on the first EVA, where we went with the suit outside, if my helmet came off, the check, I'm simulation dead at number 1. But I think we all have one simulation death at several, except Ilya. So Ilya is still alive as far as the simulation is concerned.
It's no surprise that private space companies like ICE Space, as well as the University of Adelaide, are so keen to keep pushing space research forward.
It's a billion-dollar industry.
Investing in the space industry in general is a relatively safe bet because it is growing, because there are more people going into space.
This graph shows the number of successful rocket launches into space over the last 10 years, and 2025 is on track to break the record again. This one shows the number of countries that have established space agencies. And while there is plenty of sciencey, techie, engineering-y research happening, Jazz says a big part of long-distance and long-term living in space will be the human side of things.
Yeah, team dynamics, that's something that comes up a lot, and that's something that analogs can be really useful for. Like these habitats are perfect for those kind of things. So definitely that comes up a lot.
And so we have the same surveys, the same exact surveys that we're filling in from all over the world at the same time to see how we can actually make sure that this is a standardized research, that we can also better understand what's actually happening before we send humans up to Mars, and sort of figuring out, after 2 months they start fighting each other and they start killing each other. It's better to know and to mitigate that before it actually happens.
There's not been any fights?
No,
not fights.
No,
maybe minor disagreements, but not. Yeah.
Sometimes we're not on the same page for everything, which is totally normal if you're just four random people together. But I think we get along very well. And once they ate ice cream that was not supposed to be eaten yet, but well, if it's only minor things like that.
So that's been the big disagreement, is dessert. Okay. Individually, what's been the biggest challenge for each of you so far that you didn't anticipate being a challenge?
I think for me personally, it's the fruit. I really like fresh fruit, and it's not available here, of course, because that's one of the simulations as well, that we have like a shelf-stable fruit. And for example, seeing MCC eating fresh fruit.
So I'm also missing, but specifically my baby boy, my son, was born 5 months ago. and I was expecting to miss him a lot, but not as much. And especially when my wife sends me an email and tells me, oh, it's the first time that our son was able to roll over by himself. And I didn't expect him to be growing up so fast, so much within those 3 weeks.
For me, as weird as it sounds, I am one who's not suffering from the typical families at home symptom, but more like my tools are at home symptom. I smuggled a lot of tiny tools in here. So I would like to do some more engineering and I miss my tools.
Whilst I feel for your tools, I feel like the audience is probably going to connect more with you missing your son.
We're a diverse bunch.
It's a nice place to land. Roger, Clipper. Good eyeball. Well done.